welcome. And thank you for your interest in listening to quotes from my content. Your attention is greatly appreciated. I hope you find the insights and ideas shared within both informative and inspiring. Feel free to engage and share your thoughts. I'm here to listen. About lazy. Why we are lazy. Laziness is a term often used to describe a reluctance or disinclination to engage in physical or mental activities. However, it's important to recognize that laziness is a complex phenomenon influenced by various factors, including psychological, social, and environmental elements. Here's a breakdown of some key aspects. Psychological factors. Laziness can sometimes be linked to psychological factors, such as low motivation, fear of failure, or lack of interest in the task at hand. Individuals may procrastinate or avoid tasks they find overwhelming or uninteresting. Biological factors. Our biology can also play a role in laziness. Factors such as fatigue, lack of sleep, or certain health conditions can contribute to feelings of lethargy and a decreased willingness to engage in activities. Social and environmental influences. Our environment and social context can strongly impact our behavior. For instance, a culture that values efficiency and productivity may view certain behaviors as lazy, while in another culture, those same behaviors might be accepted or even encouraged. Additionally, social norms, peer pressure, and the availability of resources can all influence our level of activity. Technology and convenience. With the rise of technology and modern conveniences, it's easier than ever to opt for the path of least resistance. Activities such as binge-watching TV shows, scrolling through social media, or ordering takeout can provide instant gratification and require minimal effort, which may contribute to a sense of laziness. Mindset and habits. Laziness can also be influenced by mindset and habits. Individuals who have developed a habit of procrastination or who struggle with self-discipline may find it challenging to overcome feelings of laziness. Fear of failure. One significant psychological factor behind laziness is the fear of failure. Some individuals may avoid tasks or challenges because they worry about not meeting expectations or facing criticism. This fear can paralyze them, leading to procrastination or avoidance of activities altogether. Perfectionism. Perfectionism can also contribute to laziness. When individuals hold themselves to unrealistically high standards, they may become overwhelmed by the prospect of not being able to meet those standards. As a result, they may procrastinate or avoid tasks to avoid the possibility of falling short of perfection. Lack of clear goals. Without clear goals or a sense of purpose, individuals may struggle to find motivation to engage in activities. When people don't have a clear direction or understanding of why they're doing something, they may be more prone to procrastination or laziness. Burnout. In today's fast-paced society, burnout is becoming increasingly common. When individuals push themselves too hard for too long without taking breaks or practicing self-care, they can become physically and emotionally exhausted. Burnout can manifest as feelings of apathy, lethargy, and a lack of motivation, leading to laziness. Environmental factors. The physical environment in which individuals live and work can impact their levels of motivation and activity. For example, a cluttered or disorganized workspace can make it difficult for individuals to focus and feel motivated to work. Conversely, a clean and organized environment can promote productivity and reduce feelings of laziness. Social comparison and pressure. In today's interconnected world, social comparison has become prevalent, especially through social media platforms. Constantly comparing oneself to others and feeling pressure to measure up to certain standards can contribute to feelings of inadequacy and demotivation, leading to laziness. Reward system dysfunction. Laziness can also be influenced by the brain's reward system. Some individuals may have a dysfunctional reward system where they prioritize short-term rewards over long-term goals. This can lead to behaviors that prioritize immediate gratification, such as procrastination or avoiding challenging tasks. Understanding these diverse factors can help individuals and society as a whole address and combat laziness more effectively. By identifying the root causes and implementing strategies to address them, individuals can cultivate habits and mindsets that promote productivity, fulfillment, and well-being. It's important to approach discussions about laziness with empathy and understanding, recognizing that there are often underlying reasons behind a person's behavior. Addressing these underlying factors through strategies such as goal setting, time management techniques, seeking social support, or addressing mental health issues can help individuals overcome feelings of laziness and lead more fulfilling lives. Thank you for taking the time to watch and listen to excerpts from my content. Your attention and engagement mean a lot to me. If you have any feedback or questions, I'd love to hear from you. Stay tuned for more content and updates.